We're talking secret group chats, late-night vent sessions, whispers turning into full-blown conversations in plain sight, and leaks. So many leaks. Coming out of the locker room, you'd think the walls were made of colanders. Players are frustrated. Coaches are on edge. And management? Playing defense harder than the team does on Sundays. Let's be clear, this isn't about Shedeur's talent. That part's settled. He's got the arm. He's got the instincts. He reads the field like he's already been in the league for 3 years. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. No, the problem isn't whether Shedeur can play. It's that he's being kept from doing it. Benched, buried on the depth chart, not getting real reps, not even being placed on the practice squad where he could quietly grow. Nothing, just invisible, like they're trying to make you forget he's even there. But guess what? People haven't forgotten, especially not the guys who share the field with him every day. And here's where it gets messy. Some players have started to speak up, not publicly yet, but behind the scenes it's getting loud. Multiple insiders say there's a growing rift between the coaching staff and key veterans who feel like Shedeur is being done dirty. They see the way he carries himself, the effort, the leadership, and they can't make sense of why the team keeps him sidelined while trotting out quarterbacks with less upside and more interceptions. It's starting to feel personal. And honestly, it probably is. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the one the league never wants to address until it's trending on social media with 100K quote tweets. Shedeur Sanders doesn't just play with confidence. He plays with swagger. He has that quiet fire, that composure that doesn't beg for approval. And in some front offices, that terrifies people, especially when it's coming from a young, black quarterback who doesn't shrink himself to make other people comfortable. Because here's the ugly truth. The NFL loves confidence as long as it fits a certain mold. If a white quarterback slings a no-look pass and struts back to the huddle, he's a gunslinger, a maverick. If Shedeur does it, suddenly he's cocky, reckless, or not taking the game seriously. It's a double standard as old as the league itself. And Shedeur is caught right in the middle of it. Some folks in the organization see that confidence and mistake it for arrogance. They interpret his composure as defiance. And instead of nurturing the talent in front of them, they're trying to control it, to mold it into something more palatable. Or worse, hide it altogether. That's why he's not on the practice squad. That's why he's getting ghosted in meetings. That's why, despite outshining other QBs in drills, he's still holding a clipboard on game day. Because the people pulling the strings don't just want Shedeur to develop. They want him to be humble, subdued, grateful just to be there. In other words, fall in line or fall off the field. But here's the thing. Players see through that. They've been in this league long enough to know what's really going on. And when they watch Shedeur show up early, stay late, support his teammates, and still get stonewalled, yeah, it's not just his respect that's being lost. It's the team's. The locker room is eyes. And right now, those eyes are giving serious side-eye to the coaching staff. Because it's not like this is happening in a vacuum. There are whispers, credible ones, that the Browns are worried about what happens if Shedeur succeeds. If he lights it up in practice or gets a surprise start and suddenly proves everyone wrong, then what? Then the management looks foolish. The depth chart decisions look political. The coaching staff looks like it's lost the pulse of its own locker room. So instead of letting that happen, they bury him. It's control, plain and simple. They'd rather keep the lid on the pot than risk getting burned by the truth. But now that pot is starting to boil over. Veterans are reportedly confronting assistants behind closed doors. There's growing resentment from players who see the team playing it safe while sacrificing potential. Some even believe that the staff is deliberately sabotaging Sanders to protect their own legacy, to avoid being the ones who pass on the next star only to see him thrive elsewhere. And that's when resentment turns into revolt. The team can spin all the statements it wants. They can say, Shedeur's still learning, or we're developing him slowly, but the truth is leaking out faster than they can contain it. And at some point the question becomes, who's going to blow the whistle first? Because once that locker room fully turns, once a key veteran goes public, or once Shedeur's agent decides to make a call, or once another team starts sniffing around for a trade, this whole thing explodes. And you know what? Maybe that's what needs to happen. Maybe Shedeur should get traded. Maybe he needs a clean break from an organization that's more focused on optics than opportunity. Let another team give him the reps he deserves. Let him shine. Because the second he hits a real field and shows what he can do, the Browns are going to look foolish. Worse, exposed. And don't think for a second the league isn't watching. This isn't just about one rookie. This is about the NFL's entire history of mishandling confident, talented black quarterbacks. This is about every player who was told to wait their turn, while others were handed the playbook. This is about the invisible rules no one says out loud, but everyone knows are there. If Shedeur rises, and it feels like he will, he won't just be a star. He'll be a symbol, a reminder that talent can't be buried forever. That politics and perception might delay the moment, but they can't stop it. And when that day comes, the Browns are going to have to answer for this, for the way they let internal ego and external bias hold back a player who did everything right, except make the people in power comfortable. So here we are, a locker room at war with itself, a coaching staff losing credibility by the hour, a front office playing chess with pieces they barely understand, and at the center of it all, a quarterback with poise, power, and a presence you can't manufacture. Shedeur Sanders didn't ask for this drama, but if this is a game they're playing, he just might beat them at it. And when he does, when he finally steps onto that field with a team that believes in him and lights it up with the world watching, there's going to be a reckoning. So now it's your turn. Do you think the Browns are protecting their system or hiding from the truth? Is Shedeur being benched because he's not ready or because they're not ready for him? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this one's personal. And if you want more behind-the-scenes breakdowns of the meltdowns, power plays, and PR disasters rocking the sports world and beyond, subscribe. Because trust me, this story is just getting started. This is about every single team that's ever looked at a young black quarterback with confidence and charisma and thought, that's dangerous. Not dangerous because he can't play. Dangerous because he can. Dangerous because the second he proves you wrong, he proves everything wrong. Your assumptions, your coaching philosophy, your scouting reports, your so-called development plan. And suddenly your authority isn't just questioned, it's exposed as fragile. And right now, that's exactly what Shedeur Sanders represents inside the Browns organization. A threat, not to the locker room, not to the fans, but to the fragile egos in the front office who don't know how to handle a player they didn't build from scratch. Because Shedeur didn't show up quiet. He didn't show up deferential. He didn't play the happy-to-be-here role. No, he showed up like someone who knows who he is. Like someone who's been in the spotlight long enough to know that being humble doesn't mean you have to be silent. And instead of being celebrated for it, he's being punished. You know who loves that kind of confidence? The locker room. You know who hates it? The people who can't control it. And that's where the power struggle begins. See, Shedeur's not just dealing with quarterback depth chart. He's navigating a corporate hierarchy that's desperately trying to save face. The moment he walked in, he was already miles ahead in terms of public perception. The fans were excited. The media was curious. He was trending before he even took a snap. And instead of using that momentum, the Browns tried to suppress it. Why? Because they didn't get to own it. They didn't discover him. They didn't mold him. He didn't follow their script. And now, instead of adapting, they're stonewalling, freezing him out, keeping him so far out of the spotlight that even the practice squad is off limits. And yet, here we are, talking about him. Still, because that kind of talent, it refuses to be buried. That kind of story, it demands to be told, whether they like it or not. Let's go back inside that locker room. Players talk. They see everything. They know when a guy is legit. And they definitely know when something doesn't add up. You can't fool them. They see Shedeur making the throws in practice. They hear the way he talks in film sessions. They watch the calm, the command, the total lack of panic. And they're asking themselves the same thing you are. Why isn't he playing? Why is this guy? this obviously capable, mature, high IQ quarterback, being treated like a PR liability instead of franchise asset. And that question, it's spreading. Guys who normally stay silent are starting to question the plan. Leaders in the locker room, guys with clout, are reportedly furious. Some feel like the coaching staff is more interested in being right than getting it right. Others think they're protecting a previous decision, a signing or trade they're too proud to walk back from. Whatever the reason, the outcome is the same. The Browns are actively suppressing their best young asset out of fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of losing control. Fear of the spotlight shifting to someone they didn't anoint. But here's the problem with fear. It makes people desperate. And desperate decisions, they almost always implode. Now let's talk about what's not being said. The coded language. The subtle jabs. The he needs to mature more lines. The he's still learning the system. Excuses. The dog whistles that always seem to blow a little louder when it's a black quarterback in the conversation. We've heard this song before. From Warren Moon to Donovan McNabb to Lamar Jackson to Cam Newton. The NFL has always struggled with confident, charismatic black quarterbacks. Not because they lack talent, but because they challenge the system. They disrupt the hierarchy. They don't shrink themselves to fit the mold. And when they do rise, despite the obstacles, they often do it on a short leash, with a microscope on their every move. One misstep, immature. One bad game, inconsistent. One bold opinion, divisive. But if a white quarterback shows swagger, he's a competitor. If he scrambles out of the pocket, he's creative. If he calls out his team, he's a leader. That's the double standard. It's not new, but it is exhausting. And now Shedeur Sanders is staring straight into that same storm. He's navigating not just offenses, but politics. Not just coverage schemes, but coded criticisms. And the worst part? He's not even being allowed to play yet. But here's what they don't get. You can keep a player off the field, but you can't keep him out of the conversation. And right now, Shedeur's name is everywhere. It's in locker rooms. It's in group chats. It's in the minds of fans who keep asking why their team is sitting on a gold mine and pretending it's scrap metal. It's in the league office, where execs are quietly wondering if Cleveland is fumbling a star. Again, and maybe, just maybe, it's in the heads of other GMs. The ones who are starting to think, if they don't want him, maybe we do. Because here's the wild card no one seems ready for. Shedeur gets traded. It's rare, risky, but not impossible. One phone call from a team with guts. One GM who sees what the Browns don't. One opportunity, and boom, Shedeur's out of Cleveland and into a system that actually wants to build around him, not bury him. And the second that happens, let's just say there won't be enough crow in Ohio to go around. Because the second Shedeur takes meaningful snaps and shows what he can really do, the entire narrative flips. He becomes the story, not the Browns. Him. And every person who said he wasn't ready or he needed to be humbled is going to have an answer for why they were so comfortable keeping Ferrari in the garage while the team was riding around on a tricycle. You know it. I know it. They know it. And maybe that's the point. Maybe they know exactly what they're doing. Maybe they know that once Shedeur shines, he'll become undeniable. And that terrifies them more than losing a few games this season. But guess what? That clock is ticking. Because you can only suppress talent for so long before it breaks through. You can only control the narrative until the truth leaks. And in Cleveland, the leaks have already started. The players are frustrated. The coaches are defensive. The media is circling. And Shedeur, he's just waiting. Waiting for a shot. Waiting for a sliver of daylight. Waiting to remind everyone why he came here in the first place. To ball, not be molded. Not to be silenced, but to lead. So here's the real question. When the floodgates open, where will you stand? Will you have believed the hype or believed in the player? Because this isn't just about one quarterback. This is about what kind of league the NFL wants to be. A league that embraces confidence, individuality, and raw talent? Or a league that still lets fear, politics, and bias write the depth chart? Time's almost up. And when Shedeur Sanders finally gets a shot, whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere smarter, just know this. He won't just play like he has something to prove. He'll play like he has everything to take back. And when he does, they'll remember they had a star and benched him. This whole thing is turning into one of the most shameful slow burns in modern NFL memory. And not because Shedeur Sanders failed, not because he got exposed, but because he hasn't even been given the chance to fail or succeed, for that matter. And now, the story isn't just about a sideline quarterback. It's about a team choking on its own insecurities. A franchise so tangled in politics, fear, and pride that they'd rather smother their future than admit they're afraid of it. Yeah, we're going there. Because at this point, even the most loyal Browns fans are starting to shift in their seats. You know the ones, season ticket holders, diehards who still wear jerseys from that one magical 10-6 year, like it was the Super Bowl. Even they are starting to say it out loud. What are we doing with Shedeur Sanders? And the real answer? The one that no coach or exec is brave enough to say into a mic. They're trying to break him before they build him. Let that sit for a second. They don't want a quarterback who arrives already polished, media-trained, brand-aware, and ready to lead. No, that's too dangerous. That takes control out of their hands. They want to build their guy from the ground up, mold him, own the narrative, point to him and say, he's ours. We made him. But Shedeur, he walked in the door already whole. He walked in with poised presence. And yes, power. Not the loud kind, not the diva kind, but the kind that makes a room go quiet when you speak. The kind that doesn't need permission to lead. And that kind of presence, it intimidates the hell out of people who think leadership only counts if it comes with a headset and a clipboard. So what do they do with someone like that? They isolate him, marginalize him, strip him of reps, of status, of momentum. They bury him on the depth chart, not because he doesn't deserve to rise, but because if he does, the people above him fall. This isn't a rookie development plan. It's corporate sabotage in cleats. And you can see it, can't you? You can feel it watching from the outside. That creeping frustration in every press conference. The tension in the coach's voices when his name comes up. The weirdly robotic answers. The over-reliance on vague cliches like, he's just learning the system. He needs more time to adjust. We're happy with where he is right now. Oh, really? You're happy with wasting a generational talent on scout team rotations and sideline clipboard duty? Come on. And the locker room? They're past noticing. They're agitated. Furious, even. Especially the guys on offense who've seen Shedeur make throws in practice that their so-called starter couldn't pull off in his dreams. And let's be honest, in football, respect is earned not just through titles, but through moments. You hit the window, nobody else could, you win guys over. And Shedeur's been doing that quietly, daily, while the coaching staff pretends like the stadium's on mute. But here's the problem. When you keep a guy like that bottled up for too long, the locker room turns on you. And not in the dramatic, movie-style mutiny way. No, it's more insidious than that. More dangerous. It's eye rolls in meetings. It's half-hearted reps in practice. It's a culture shift, a slow corrosion of trust. Because if you can lie to him, the most talented guy in the room, then what's stopping you from lying to the rest of us? And that kind of atmosphere, it's poison for a team. Doesn't matter how good your scheme is. Doesn't matter how many plays you script. If the locker room stops believing you're playing the best players, your season is already toast. And don't forget the optics here. The league is watching. Media insiders are sniffing. Agents are circling. And other teams? Oh, you better believe they're paying attention. Every time Shedeur's name trends on social, a GM in another city adds a mental sticky note that says, if Cleveland's too scared to play him, maybe we won't be. The phone calls haven't started yet, but they will, especially if the Browns keep losing, or worse, keep winning ugly, barely skating by while leaving a quarterback-shaped time bomb on the bench. Because here's what happens next. Shedeur will get his shot, whether it's here or somewhere else. Someone will go down. Someone will get traded. Or someone in the front office will finally crack and say, fine, give the kid a drive. And in that moment, that one moment, he will either become a cautionary tale or a legend, And based on what we've seen, based on the flashes, the leadership, the quiet maturity, the raw skill that leaps off the field, you already know which way it's going to go. It'll be electric. It'll be undeniable. It'll be too late for Cleveland to say, we always believed in him, because the receipts are already printed. And when he pops off, when Shedeur Sanders lights up the field in a different uniform for a different team, in a system that actually wants him to succeed, it's going to be a legacy moment, not just for him, but for them, the ones who sat on him like he was a liability instead of a gift. The post-game interviews? Brutal. The media narrative? Unforgiving. The Browns' reputation? Scorched. Because this won't be just another we let a good one slip story. This will be a generational fumble. And what's wild, it's entirely preventable. All they have to do is take the leash off. Let the man play. Give him reps. Let him make mistakes. Let him grow, not in the shadows, but in the spotlight, where he belongs. But they won't. Not yet. Because in their minds, the worst-case scenario isn't that he fails. It's that he succeeds. Because if Shedeur succeeds, they have to admit they got it wrong. And pride will always burn a franchise down before it ever admits defeat. So now, all we can do is watch. Watch as the Browns pretend everything is fine. Watch as the locker room sees beneath the surface. Watch as Shedeur, somehow still composed, still patient, still poised, waits for a door to open. And when it finally does, it won't just be a game. It'll be a reckoning. So let's end with this. If you're still on the fence about what's going on in Cleveland, ask yourself one simple question. If Shedeur Sanders had been drafted with a different last name and a different style and a different skin tone, would we even be having this conversation? Exactly. Now tell us your thoughts. Has the Browns front office officially lost the plot? Should Shedeur demand a trade? Are we witnessing one of the biggest quarterback mishandlings of the modern era? Drop your comments, fire off your takes, and hit that subscribe button if you want more of the real, raw breakdowns of the drama they don't show you on game day. Because this is a kind of NFL story that starts in silence and ends in fire.